It doesn't match the flat Earth model. Again, none of this required you to believe anybody's pictures, anybody's equations, anything. It's the simplest frickin' math in the world. This is not reality. It is provably not reality. Now, in a sense, who cares? And a lot of people are saying, like, why even bother with this? Like, the people who talk about that don't understand enough for it to even be worth arguing about. I have to mention, some people declare that, well, the reason for that is the sun is really a spotlight that shines on a piece of it. If you saw a spotlight in the sky going like this, it wouldn't stay the same size and set. It would disappear as you got outside the cone. Try it with a frickin' spotlight. Do you see the sun in the sky getting little and disappearing? No, you see it the same frickin' size going below the horizon, which is absolutely impossible on this crappy model, because this crappy model is false, and provably false. And people have known this for thousands and thousands of years, but enough people are ignorant and believe things that they were taught that then when they get taught something else, a different assertion, and they go, well, that sounds cool, I'm going to believe that they fall for it. And it's frustrating as hell to watch decent, gullible people mistaking believing for understanding and using their own ignorance as proof of something. Now, I'm going to throw in a couple things. Here's a thing that flat earthers will actually like. Often they bring up the thing about the moon landing. Notice nothing I did required anything about the moon. Doesn't matter what it is, where it is, for this proof that the earth isn't flat. When people say, well, do you think we landed on the moon? I don't actually know. I always assumed we did. I think it's possible to. However, I know that governments lie a lot, and in the space race against the Russians, I could totally see a bunch of bureaucrats saying, you know, it's going to be cheaper and easier to fake it than it is to actually do it. Let's do that. I have no idea if that's what they did. I understand the physics of what it would take, whether they actually pulled that off. I don't know. I also don't particularly care, because I don't need their pictures of the moon. Oh, incidentally, when people say the moon isn't flat and you have no way to prove otherwise, there's a very, very, very easy way to prove otherwise. Call your buddy in California, if you're in Maine. Call somebody far east or west of you. Have them take a picture of the moon at the same time you take a picture of the moon. And then put the pictures side by side. And if you know how to cross your eyes, you will absolutely and completely see, beyond any frickin' doubt, the spherical nature of the moon. It's called a stereogram. You can look it up online. Look up stereogram moon, and if you can cross your eyes, you get to see the spherical moon. It is not debatable. The fact that maybe you didn't know how to prove that doesn't mean nobody knows how to prove that. And that is the ultimate ignorance, is to decide that because you don't understand something, then nobody does. And so, why do I bother doing this video? In part because I think there are people gullible who are falling for crap who are merely ignorant, and it's not a sin to be ignorant. Ignorant doesn't equal stupid. Now, there's a lot of things you can't explain if you're trying to believe in flat Earth, and their argument boils down to, again, a list of their own ignorances. Like, I don't know how to explain A, B, C, or D. Therefore, it's flat. No, therefore maybe you should learn to understand things, because when you understand things, oh, they actually make sense. And by the way, when you're really far up north or really far down south, sometimes the sun will stay in the sky for days and days and days, or be gone from the sky for days and days and days, which is because the Earth is tilted on an axis. And if the sun's over here and the Earth is here spinning this way, and you're at the North Pole, you will see the sun the whole freaking time. And if you're on the South Pole, you won't see it at all for days and days until you come back around and the axis is more in line. That makes perfect sense. Is there any accounting for that in the flat Earth model? Nope, not the slightest. This is basic geometry that people have understood for centuries. And the fact that a lot of people today don't understand it is kind of sad. Again, people can be ignorant. It's not the end of the world. If people understand, don't commit aggression against other people, I don't particularly care how much they know about geometry and stuff. However, when they fall for this stuff and allow themselves to be duped and then they go out as if they're in the know when they literally don't know what it means to know something, that's frustrating to watch. As somebody who likes math and science, and I mean actual science, like the scientific process, not any old crap packaged and has the label of science stuck on it, because there's a lot of garbage that says, well, this counts as science about all sorts of issues. So I don't mean anything that science says. Science isn't a person. It's not an institution. It's a method of figuring stuff out. And lots of people totally suck at that. So the reason I did the video is I don't want gullible people falling for this. Second, I want people to understand the difference between believing and understanding. And third, it will be a test for who actually clings to something provably false. I just gave an actual proof that the Earth is not flat, that model is provably bogus, that you can do yourself. You don't have to take NASA's word for it. You don't have to believe a textbook. You don't have to do anything else. And you can do it at one point during the day. You don't even, like, it's something you personally witnessed every single day, that model does not explain the world. Now, if after seeing that, people make up excuses and say, what about this, what about that, what about the other thing? So now you have a proof on one hand and then listing areas in which they're ignorant. That's a sign that they're it's a faith-based delusion, that they are actually clinging to it because they like it. They like to think they're in the know, and haha, I saw behind an even bigger conspiracy. No, you just fell for a lie and never understood it. You never understood it when you thought it was round. You never understood it when you thought it was flat. And you assume nobody else did either. And so much of science is like this. People say, there's no way to determine X, whatever it is. It's like, just because you don't know it doesn't mean nobody else knows how to do it. And so that's the level of arrogance you see from the most vocal flat earthers, is they don't know how to do the simplest proof, and they assume nobody else does. So they talk as if it's all theory, it's all conjecture, none of this is proven. Yes, it's proven. I just friggin' proved it using zero math and zero having to rely on textbooks and NASA or anything like that. But you have to understand at least the basics of geometry. Notice, I didn't even use trigonometry. If you know sines and cosines, there are easier ways to do it, because that's what that stuff is for. I didn't even use that. I didn't even need that. So this now becomes a test of how many people can actually substantively respond to what I said. As I said at the beginning, if you post memes and videos, I'm going to delete them. If you post rants about anything other than the actual topic of this, I'm going to delete it. I want any flat earther to explain in their own words why the evidence that I just pointed to, that you can go see yourself on a daily freaking basis, doesn't at all match the new thing that they believe, as opposed to the old thing that they believe. And I'm not going to bother arguing this anymore. I will leave this video up. It's a live thing, but it stays up after I record it, so people can see it in the future. Mostly what I'm going to be doing is deleting people saying, what about this? What about that? What about the other thing that has nothing to do with what I just showed? Because that's all they have, is a laundry list of things they don't understand. And when you explain one, they'll just jump to another thing they don't understand. And lucky for them, they don't seem to have a limit to the number of things they don't frickin' understand. So when you explain one and say, this is why that is, this is why planes don't have to like gradually tilt down because level is the circle. Oh, well, what about this? Like, okay, if you're doing an infinite list of things that you don't understand, that's not proof of anything. This is a very simple proof that the Earth is not flat. And there are lots of others you could do. There's literally dozens you could do. This is about the simplest one I know that requires like no math and no understanding and no taking anybody's word for anything. So then it's just a test of whether people are so attached to this new cool fad thing, now I found out the Earth is flat, that they will all the way ignore evidence that they can see every single day walking out their door. Do you see the sun going like this in the sky, getting really little and close to the horizon and then really big and right over you? No, you don't. You see this. It comes up, it's the same size, goes down on the other side. Maybe it's an arc and one side or the other, if you're north or south of the equator. That's what you actually see. If you understand anything about geometry, you can go, oh yeah, the flat earth model doesn't explain that. If you have a model you believe in that all the way doesn't explain the evidence that you have personal access to on a daily basis, and you still cling to it, then you're really not worth talking to. That's all. Time for me to go delete a whole bunch of irrelevant garbage that people are probably posting. Have a nice day.